Welcome back, everyone, to the A.D.D. show, where we're not always right, but we're never wrong. As always, I'm Mark.
And I'm Hans, and welcome back to the show, everybody. Today we're going to be having Logan join us in just a little bit. But right now, in sports news, we're at the NFL Conference Championships.
Yes.
How's that sound, man?
Depressing.
I didn't think we'd get here.
You know,
but
I know
here
football's a year-round sport because
Yeah.
you talk about it year-round, but I just love watching the games, and unfortunately, I'm working all day Sunday. Like, I'll miss both games, but
it's okay.
I'll watch them on my phone.
I did have one other thing I wanted to mention real quick before we get into the games and we end up calling Logan is in case people hear this, I wanted to get your take on it because it's something that you're more interested in, and I didn't tell you I was going to talk about this.
Okay.
But it just happened today. We lost Hank Aaron today.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame baseball player. Well before my time of baseball. I just know of the name. I don't know a lot about him, but I know you probably never watched him either because he was really before you, but you be more the baseball guy, and I'm assuming he was a pretty big deal to the sport.
Still to this day, you can put his stats up against anybody.
That's crazy for the time.
They'll match. I mean, 3,700 hits, over 500 home runs. I mean, good batting average.
I saw like 697 home runs, I think is what I saw. Like, that's crazy.
And when he broke the record for home runs and when he beat Babe Ruth, he was having death threats the night before. They didn't know if he was going to be alive for the next game to hit the home run. I mean, that's the time that he played in. It was nobody liked African American players.
Absolutely.
Barely any one of them played, and God forbid any one of them broke a record.
Yeah.
Especially Babe Ruth's.
Yeah, I think it said he played 54 to 74. I think 20 years. So that's definitely a racial time.
Being a baseball fan, I mean, you really put people up against him all the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's, Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier, but he broke records of some of the greats, and it wasn't, I mean, people really applauded him for it, but there was a lot that didn't appreciate it at the time.
Of course.
One other thing I would like to talk about before we get started is just basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was all excited about this James Harden trade to New Jersey, Brooklyn. Sorry,
whatever they are. I do the same thing.
They're in New Jersey, but it's a wait and see. Like, Malik and Chandler, they're like, it's 3 Hall of Famers, 3 All-Stars on the same team,
Hall of Famers,
3 scoring champs on the same team. I don't care who you are. I mean, you got outscored by Cleveland the other day. And they'll win their games, but I don't think they can compete for a championship. I really don't.
Well, and that's the thing I've talked about, and I've talked about it with clients recently, and I've talked about it with you guys, and I try not to get too into it because I'm not really big into basketball. But there's a difference between a player that's a really good player, and I'm talking stats, I'm talking dunks, I'm talking all the numbers. Again, this can be translated straight to football. But are you a winner when it matters? Are you a champion when it matters?
Right.
And I can only think of 3 to 5 players in the last 20 years that I'm saying, if I had no talent around me, and I'm that person, can you win? Kobe, Jordan, LeBron. I think Giannis can be one of those. Luka is one of those. These are people to me that doesn't require a lot of talent. But again, I'll go back to the CP3, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. Kyrie Irving had to have LeBron. He didn't get it done in Brooklyn, and they had a stacked team for 3 years?
Yep.
Kevin Durant had to join Golden State. The team already had 73 wins before he was there.
Right.
So these are not bad players. They're all Hall of Famers. But are they going to hold a ring saying, that was because me? These all 3 got together, and they're just scoring dudes. They don't play defense.
No.
And they get outscored by Cleveland.
I mean,
I'm not
a Harden fan. I'm not a James Harden fan. I have never been a James Harden fan. I've never understood the hype. I've never understood why everybody says when he went to Houston, Houston is a contender now. Okay, yeah, they had good records, but they weren't a contender. I never thought of them as championship material.
Well, that's the way I look at it. When you use the word contender, do you have teams you think could be a 4 or 5 seed, or do you have a contender? There's a difference between the two. This Nets team could win a 3, 4, 5, 6 seed, but they're not contenders because they don't have the chemistry. They don't play defense. I just think basketball has changed to the point when they want you to get all the superstars you can that can put up 140 points a game and just say, hey, all you got to do is score one more basket than the other dudes.
Yeah.
Whereas LeBron and A.D. are straight up blocking people. They're straight up bodying people. They're playing old school 90s basketball in the Lakers right now, and that's what the sport needs more of. I just watched Brooklyn the other night, and I was like, you're being outscored by Colin Sexton.
Yeah.
All three of them. And I was like, this isn't okay.
And so it's going to be interesting. College has been interesting. We brought it up. Chandler actually brought it up in our group chat, and we were talking about how for the first time in years, and I can't remember how many years, he said Duke, North Carolina, and Kentucky were not in the top 25.
It's very nice.
And I said that it's, and he agreed, and Malik agreed, and it's fun to pay attention to college basketball because you're paying attention to players that aren't being force-fed down. They're the ones that are playing the best. You're not being force-fed Duke. You're not being force-fed North Carolina or, Kentucky. And it's fun. And I'm a Syracuse guy. I love Syracuse.
Yeah.
And I'm actually more interested in college basketball this year. And Syracuse has a good record, but they're not relevant.
Yeah.
And I'm more interested in watching teams like Iowa, Gonzaga, Baylor, like all these teams, even Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan's
for that
got a good
part,
team.
Michigan's
Iowa
got
State
a good team, and I like watching them play. And it's just fun to watch and pay attention to because you're watching people that are going to go to the next level and make a difference for teams. They may not be superstars in the league, but they will make a difference on teams.
And I agree with you because I didn't talk to you guys about this the other day, but in college basketball, it had happened with my team. A player had transferred and went to Kentucky. Now, Kentucky, for weeks, nobody's talked about them. They don't get talked about because they're not good. And as soon as one 5-star player transfers, or I'm going to say the word transfers nicely because that's what they said he did, transfers to Kentucky, it was the biggest signing move they've ever done with Kentucky because you got a transfer player that was at West Virginia who transferred to your school, and now they won't stop talking about it. It was like, it's almost like it helped them be relevant again. It was like, you went to Kentucky for what? And I'm one of those people where I question when you leave one team to another 3 games into the season. Makes you wonder, what you leaving for?
Right.
And so now these teams are like, they're wondering, Kentucky, UNC, and Duke, like, they're not relevant. So how are you going to get relevant again? Because other teams are getting good. It's not just y'all 3 anymore.
Yeah.
So
I'm a firm believer in college anyways. I think the NBA is watered down with young kids that don't know how to play the game.
Absolutely.
Some of these players that are 2-3 years into college that come out are so much more prepared and better, and I'll use Zion and Ja Morant, for example. Morant's hurt right now, but he came out and he's more prepared to play in the NBA. He's got a better all-around game.
Yeah.
And I do think college would be beneficial if college basketball adopted the same kind of rule that NCAA football has.
I agree with you 100%.
You can never get away with it because it's just one of those things where they go overseas or they do this. The NFL has, in NCAA football, they have the luxury of not having another league you can go to.
Well, this is the thing, too, where before we get Logan on the phone, I wanted to jump because you made a good point. It's like, I was a little bit upset as a fan of my team when our center, Oscar Shibwe, decided to transfer to Kentucky. But the reason I get it is because he has all the scouts after him. He's 7 foot tall, doesn't speak English. He's from Uganda. All he does is block the ball. But for our team, that's a second-day pick in the NBA from West Virginia. But on Kentucky, he's a top 5 pick. So I can understand these players leaving. But if you give them the opportunity where they have to stay 3 years, you won't see as much transferring to powerhouses as often. So... you ready to call up Logan? See if he's ready?
Go ahead. He's ready.
Let's call him up. Let's see what we got here.
Hello?
Hey, man.
Hey, what's up? Sorry for the little delay. Traffic was a bitch and a half.
That's all right. It's all right. How you doing?
Doing good.
Good. Well, we're just about to get into some football talk here. I wanted to give you guys some information before we start talking about picks and the games this weekend. It's just some stuff about Brady that just kind of actually blew my mind. Kind of interesting stuff. So you guys are 26 years old. For more than half your lives, Brady has played in the championship game. More than half your life. This is his 15th championship game. And he makes the championship game 75% of his career. LeBron James shoots a free throw, the easiest shot in basketball, at 74%. And Brady goes to the championship game. Very hard to do, considering the greats. Aaron Rodgers, 4. This is his 5th. He's 1-3. Manning didn't go to that many. The next closest person, Brady is 32-11 in the playoffs. The next closest person in wins is Montana at 16. Think about that for just let that
dude's crazy, man.
marinate. Okay,
He has like 2 whole seasons of playoff wins.
Yes. At the age of 43, he threw for 4,600 yards, 40 TDs, 12 interceptions. Okay? So I decided to look at the last full year, not an injury year like Manning's last year. He was injured. He didn't play a full season. Same thing with Marino and Drew Brees. I wrote down the last 3 years. Okay? Manning, his last full year in Denver, 4,700, 39 and 15. Okay? Montana, 3,200, 16 and 9. Marino, 3,400, 23 and 15. Rodgers last year at 38, right?
Yeah.
4,300, 48 and 5. Unbelievable season.
That's crazy.
He's 5 years younger than Brady. Okay? Drew Brees, the last 3 years, okay, under 4,000 yards. The last 2 years, under 3,000 yards. And hasn't gone over 20 touchdowns. It is just, to me, this is just, and I know people hate on Tom Brady. I know they do. And
you know why they hate him?
Because he's so damn
because
good.
He's good. That's
He's a
why,
winner.
Yeah, he's a winner. That's why I never liked him growing up because I was tired of seeing him in all the championship games. It was annoying.
Think of this. Postseason passing TDs. He has 77. The next closest is 45.
Yeah.
Okay, like in Manning, 40. Rodgers, 42. Brett Favre, 44. Montana, 45. Like Drew Brees isn't even in there. Okay? Now, this is the funniest one of all. Most playoff wins against an NFC team. Okay? NFC. Brady's only played one season in the NFC. Brett Favre has 12. Aaron Rodgers has 10. Montana has 10. Roger Staubach has 9. Donovan McNabb has 9. Brady has 8.
That's insane.
Brady has 8 wins against the NFC in the playoffs. He beat them 6
the
times
Super
in the
Bowl.
Super Bowl, and he beat them. He has 2 wins this year. Breeze only has 8. Wilson only has 8. Aikman and Warner only had 8.
So so everything you're saying, it's definitely not a unanimous first ballot, right?
Oh, I mean, it's
He might even break that
Yeah.
right.
retirement
It's
rule.
Can we let him in
but
early?
He's outlasting and outperforming everybody that we try to put him up against.
Because the veggies he eats, man.
But it's 20 years. This is his 20th year, and it's his 15th championship game.
So I've said this for a long time. I want to jump in because that's something I've talked about recently in my last about 2 years of getting more into sports than I ever have. Something I've always talked about was how much you're going to miss people when they're gone. Now, I've always hated on Tom Brady. I've hated Peyton Manning. You know the reason why? Because they're good, right? We're going to miss these guys when they're gone. Phillip Rivers was the first ball to drop. Drew Brees the next ball to drop. I know they're talking about Big Ben possibly coming back next year, but this year they could all but Rodgers lock it up this year.
It's like all the guys that like Christian, Nate, and I like grew up watching, and it's just
Right.
it's like coming to an end. It's like it's like the passing of the torch to this next generation of great players.
Yeah,
It's
you
like,
got the
it's
Allen,
insane.
the Mahomes.
Right.
Those guys are the next ones up.
And think about the championship games, okay? Think about this. You have a 43-year-old and a 38-year-old quarterback in the NFC. Arguably for the last decade plus, I would probably say for the last 15 years. Rodgers, I don't even know if he's played 15 years yet, but
I think he's been like 12, I think.
so
He got drafted in 05, so I think this is.
He didn't play till 06 or 07, right?
I think it was like 8. I think he
He's
sat
had
for
like
like 3-4
two
years.
years.
So last decade, the 2 greatest quarterbacks to ever play in this decade,
Yeah.
okay, are playing against each other. And then you have 2 quarterbacks that I don't even think are 25 playing against each other.
Patrick Mahomes is.
All right, is
I think
he
he
25?
just turned 25.
Okay, so
But I know what you're
that
saying.
age differential between these guys, where it's like you're looking at it and you're looking at the future and the past almost. Like you really have to, and you're really having what these 2 young guys want to be in 10 years is what's going on in the NFC. And then in the AFC, you're like, if you're the AFC and you're AFC teams, you're like, okay, we need to build, and we need to build fast, because these guys aren't getting any worse. They're only going to get better.
I want to add something to what you just said, because I just actually thought about this on my drive over here, was you have this passing of the torch. So on the NFC side, we're including Brady on the NFC side because of his team, but overall he's dominated the AFC. But let's take the Rodgers and Brady, the 2 oldest quarterbacks right now that are left in the playoffs. So you take the AFC side. Look at the passing of the torch. There's about a 15-year difference in age between these 2 sides. But if you look at it, you can see how much the quarterback position has changed. Just think about it in your head. You got Rodgers. He runs 100 yards a year. Brady, 8 rushing touchdowns, but they're always on the goal line. So but then you're moving into Josh Allen, I think, had like 500 yards rushing this year. Mahomes had like 540 or something like that. You're kind of moving into where you're seeing if you can't move your feet, unless you can throw the ball really good like these old guys, it's kind of cool to see that even when Baker Mayfield was still in and Lamar was still in, these quarterbacks are vastly different than the Drew Breeses, than the Phillip Riverses. And it's crazy to see what 15-year difference can do for quarterbacks. And
I will put it one step. I look at it as Marino, to me, Brady, Rodgers, Favre, you can even put Drew Brees in there, and Manning. Their footwork was unbelievable. Okay? They didn't move in the pocket. They just moved slightly.
They moved enough to not get hit.
And that, to me, is what a court, like, Mahomes throws off his back foot. Rivers threw off his back foot and off balance his whole career, and put up numbers. But it's like you said, it's like these more athletic but accurate quarterbacks are playing now, and that's what teams are looking for. They're not looking for a Lamar Jackson that's a 1,000-yard rusher and a 3,000-yard passer. They're looking for the 5,000-yard passer and the 600-yard rusher.
They're looking for if Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson had a baby. A love child, someone that can run the ball, that can throw the ball, but do a little bit of both, but neither one of them spectacular. That's what you're looking for in the league. Like I can run the list of the Dak Prescotts, the Baker Mayfields, the Jared Goffs of the world, the Deshaun Watson of the world. All of these guys have great throwing ability, and they can run and embarrass you if they need to. They don't like to. Even Russell Wilson, another one. Throw first, and if it's not there, your first two options, you're gone. Whereas Lamar is...
Matt Stafford's even in that category.
Matt Stafford runs too.
He's just, the way he evades pressure is just unbelievable. Like, it's just crazy. Like, you need that style of quarterback in today's game. Like, you just can't have that sit in the pocket waiting until something happens. Like, you need to be able to escape pressure and make a play when you need to make a play.
Okay, you say that, but then you look at it and Brady and Rodgers are still there. You guys say you need that running quarterback, but for 50...
Rodgers is, he's more of a... Yes, Rodgers is more of a pocket passer, but he can escape pressure and make a play when he needs to. So can Brady. Like, Brady's slow as like a turtle, but he can still make a play when the play needs to be made.
And I think what I'm going off what you just said, Mark, was not that they can't still do it. It's that a lot of the quarterbacks nowadays aren't being taught in a high school age to just stand there and take hits.
Right.
Because the linemen are being taught differently. The running backs are differently. Where, yes, in college, you do have a couple quarterbacks out there. Like if you look at Trevor Lawrence, okay? I just want to bring him up before we talk about the games. You look at Trevor Lawrence, what's the first thing you think of when you see him?
Well, I mean, obviously, his arm, his footwork, and everything. But what you said is he's the typical guy that you just said. And Joe Burrow, again, 500 yards rushing, 400 yards rushing, 3,000 yards passing. That's what you want out of Trevor Lawrence.
And what I'm saying about Trevor Lawrence, though, but if you're not a football fan, you just come to the sport and look at him and go, damn, that kid looks like he can throw the ball and just stands in the pocket all day. Then he fools you wrong and he can run 600 yards a year. So it's not that quarterbacks don't stand still anymore. It's that a lot of teams in high school are now starting to coach their quarterbacks to say, hey, if that pocket collapses, don't fall down. You are fast enough to run. Just don't fumble it. And you're going to see a lot less Rodgers and Brady type numbers over time. I think you'll still see it, but you won't see quarterbacks sitting there in the pocket as long. 1 or 2 minutes, they're out. 1 or 2 seconds, they're going to roll out. So
this weekend, you've got the Chiefs-Bills. Mahomes has been cleared to play.
Yep.
Which is good because you didn't want a championship game where Mahomes didn't play. No. I'm going... This is going to be a very good game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be a very good game, and I'm going with my Super Bowl picks. That's the only reason why I'm picking the two teams I'm picking today, because in the beginning of the season, before the season started, we did our picks. I picked Kansas City versus Tampa Bay.
Yep.
That's my pick. But I honestly think Kansas City is the better team. I think they're better offensively. I think defensively they're a little close. Like everybody says Buffalo's really good defensively, but I think you can get them. And I just don't. It's one of those things where all year we kept saying I just don't see Kansas City losing.
Because they haven't. That's the thing.
They lost to the Raiders because the Raiders didn't make a mistake in that game. They lost to San Diego because none of their starters played. So it's you're looking at it that way, those two losses, and I just don't think Buffalo's not going to make a mistake. And the one thing Buffalo can't do is run the ball. So even if Buffalo gets a lead, I don't see them getting time of possession enough to keep Mahomes off the field to score touchdowns. So that's why I picked Kansas City in this game.
So go ahead, Logan.
I've been saying Chiefs-Packers for I don't know how long.
Yeah, you've been on that for a while.
I've been on, like, I remember when I was little, like, I was saying Chiefs-Packers for Super Bowl I. It's going to be Super Bowl 50 Chiefs-Packers. It was close, but it didn't happen. But this year, I just thought Rodgers had that fire under his butt when they drafted Jordan Love, and he has had one of the best seasons of his career. And I think the Packers-Bucks game is going to be high scoring. I think it'll be like a 35 to 32 type game coming down to the last drive. And then with the Chiefs-Bills, I think that game's going to be really close. Again, another high-scoring game. But I just think it's the Chiefs. Like, they're going to get it done because they know how to get it done. And the Bills are still a new team in this position. But I just think the Chiefs have that little bit more experience at this level than the Bills do. So I think that game's going to be like a 41 to 38 type game.
So my original prediction for this was in the beginning of the year, I had the Chiefs and I had the Saints. And the reason I had the Saints is because I didn't think Tampa Bay was going to do what they were going to do. Mm-hmm. But if I have to go with my backup pick, I'm going to go with Green Bay. And the reason is I'll get into it because I have a lot of stuff written down for both these games. But I also have Kansas City, but I want to talk about why I have Kansas City. I have some stats written down. I've been doing this recently because actually it really helps me understand analytics a little bit about these teams. Mm-hmm. They played earlier in the year with Mahomes having lower yardage than normal. So he only had like 225 yards. The Bills played a bend but don't break type defense, right? So they said, we're not giving you anything over the top, and that game Tyreek Hill only had 2 catches. Mm-hmm. But CEH had over 160 yards, Kelsey had 100 yards, and 2 TDs. So they targeted everything really close. And also in that game, Kansas City held Josh Allen to 122 yards only. They didn't get any rushing going. Nothing got going, and Kansas City won that game. The other thing I was going to say was Kansas City's defense, we've talked about it, isn't that good of a defense. I don't think they're that good. I mean, I think they're good enough to make it to the playoffs. That's why they're here. But last time the type of defense they play, which is a zone defense, Josh Allen this year has 11 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and 4 fumble losses. That's not really that good. And then my next one was he's super talented. I like him. He's got a really good arm, but this is what Mark's just said. There's no run game. That's going to be their downfall. They cannot run the ball. So what they're going to do is they're going to play zone, make him throw the ball, kind of like they would force a Lamar to throw the ball. You're going to have to throw it on him. And unfortunately, like I said, my next part is I wrote this in big letters. Like, I'm proud of the Bills because I think they're a good team, but against the Chiefs, it reminds me of the Patriots. Till somebody unthrones them, they're the next dynasty of the Patriots, and they're at home. It's supposed to be cold. I just don't see it changing because if you ask me who's going to be the first one to fail, I like Josh Allen, but he looks like the one that would make the mistake first and the third or fourth, a detrimental pick 6 to like Tyrann Mathieu, and the Chiefs just run it out from there. Mm-hmm. That's just my thing. Okay. That was the Chiefs-Bills game. Do you guys want to go to the next one?
So, I just want to say, like, I don't want to say that it's going to be a blowout. I don't want to say that Allen's going to be a blowout. I don't think Allen's going to have a horrible game. I think the big difference in this game is the fact that the Bills can't run the ball. Yeah. So even if the Bills get a lead, I don't think they can hold it because of the fact they can't hold the ball for clock.
Kind of what I meant was if they throw that pick 6 like in the third quarter and Josh Allen's like, I think from then on it'll be like a 10-point game. Bills will score, then the Chiefs will score, and it'll consistently be an 8 to 10 game. Yep. They just can't catch back up. Yep. I think it's going to come touchdown. Who makes the first mistake? And I haven't seen Patrick Mahomes make them except for that Raiders game. Yeah, that was the big one. And Raiders played a great game that game.
NFC game, I'm having a hard time not thinking about Week 6. I really am. The Bucs defense is that good to do it again. Yeah. I look at it as their secondary is better than the Rams secondary, meaning Ramsey's the best by far in the league. I will say that. But the other guys on that team aren't as good, and they couldn't stop a couple what I like to call no-name wide receivers. where I think the Tampa Bay is better equipped, and I said this in our chat. I think Tampa Bay matches up better against Green Bay than they do against New Orleans. That's why I don't look at the New Orleans games of how Brady played. I think they match up well against Green Bay. I think it's a matchup nightmare for Green Bay offensively versus their defense, especially with their left tackle not playing because he's hurt, because they got destroyed the first game and he played. I just think this defensive front seven is going to get to Rodgers and going to bother him enough to make it so Brady and that offense will do enough. I don't think I think the weather's going to play a factor. Brady's the only one on that team that's played in cold weather and is used to cold weather. The weather's supposed to be about 20-something degrees.
And Ronald Jones might not play as of right now still. It's questionable.
And I'm okay with Leonard Fournette playing the whole game. In a cold game like that, you want somebody like Leonard Fournette hitting you 20 times a game.
Yeah. Playoff Lenny.
Yeah, but I can't get week 6 out of my head. And then going back and looking at it, it's the first game Rodgers made major mistakes. I mean, the guy only threw 5 interceptions, and I think 2 of them were in that game. And I think White being healthy. He wasn't healthy a few weeks. He's healthy again. I think that it's Devin White, right? The linebacker.
Devin White.
I think he is a difference maker, and I think he is going to be.
And the Bucs just activated, beat the Vega off of IR, and that's a huge piece.
But they did. The Bucs did last game lose that right guard. They've had what's his name, like Steele something. I think his name's like Steele. Yeah. And he's a rookie, and he was pushed around last week. So that's a big that's another thing, like you said, with the Packers, that O-line. It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be battle of the trenches in this game, because you have to protect your quarterbacks, and Green Bay is gonna target that rookie lineman who let like 4 pressures in last week against the Saints. So
I'm not taking anything. Green Bay's very good defensively.
These are 2 really good teams.
And Green Bay's gotten better defensively since week 6.
Way better.
I think they fell into a trap, not a trap, but I think they fell into like quicksand.
They were riding hot, and they thought they were.
Tampa Bay, nothing went wrong. After they fell down behind 10-0, and you thought it was going to be, Green Bay running all over them, all of a sudden Tampa Bay just put on the gas defensively, offensively, and then it just snowballed on Green Bay. I don't see that happening again. I see it going back and forth. I'm not going to bet against Brady to make it to the Super Bowl. I would love to see Brady versus Mahomes in the Super Bowl. I think that's sort of like the basketball version of Kobe versus LeBron. That never happened. I think this is something that people would love to see happen. Not that Rodgers versus Mahomes wouldn't be phenomenal either.
2 great arms going against each other.
So I don't think you can lose. I think Allen is getting the short end of the stick here because everybody wants to see like Mahomes versus the 2 greats. But I think Josh Allen is, every year he's done more to get better.
He's one of the only quarterbacks every year he's been in the league. Every single category has gone up 1 notch.
Yes.
And that doesn't happen often, that you actually develop a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Develop a quarterback that people thought was a 6th-round pick, best at 6th-round pick at Wyoming, and then he's going up every step, and now he's a monster.
But you also don't get it where he's tasted success, but yet you can still coach him to say you need to do this better, and he comes in and does it better.
Yep.
Very rare. Go ahead, Logan.
I saw an interesting stat from PFF on Twitter. The playoff quarterback's passer rating under pressure. Josh Allen's first with a 108.6. Mahomes is second with a 74.3. Brady is third with a 61.9, and Rodgers is fourth with a 55.2.
Yeah,
that just shows you how well Josh Allen does against under pressure.
And that's the difference. I read the same thing. You just said the PFF. I read that earlier, and there was another one right after. They did stats of who is the best against the zone. Like the zone or blitz of the 2, and it was completely flipped the other way, where Josh Allen was terrible against the zone. Tom Brady and Mahomes were at the top, and Rodgers, they were all over 100, and then, like I said, Josh Allen was like 42 point something. So, it's kind of crazy to see, depending on what each defense plays, you have to play to that strength.
But I think it's just like Lamar Jackson and Allen. They're bad against the zone. And the main reason why is because they see half the field, and then they see, and Allen has been making his progressions, but it's more like 1, 2. at like half the field, then half the field.
And if there's not two, he throws out of bounds, so it gets hit.
When you're looking at half the field, you technically don't see that zone linebacker or zone
that's just creeping.
Nickelback that's just right there creeping, and so you throw it, you think it's open, and it's not.
It's an interception.
But I will have to, these games, can you say that this is probably the best 4 teams you could ask for in this situation?
100%.
Yeah, I can't think of any other team I'd put over these 4 right now.
So even the way New Orleans played in the regular season, but the way they played in the playoffs, you didn't want to see them go up against Green Bay.
You got to win in the playoffs when it matters. That's the thing.
Yep.
Yep.
Tampa Bay's playing at that level now, even though they were, the 6 seed, 5 seed, where they're playing like they are, like we thought they would be.
I can tell you 2 or 3 teams I was disappointed in. You know what I mean? Like for example, Steelers. Thought would have been a little bit better. Rams disappointed me I thought they would have made it a little farther. Seahawks definitely disappointed me. And we all were on Arizona this year. We were hot on them in the beginning, saying this is the team that's going to win this division. Boy, were we wrong.
Yes.
So
real quick, I want to ask you guys something, because both of you guys know how much of a fan I'm not of Lamar Jackson. Okay.
I have time to get to my Green Bay Tampa Bay pick after this.
Oh, I thought you picked him already.
I did, but I had I was going to go over a couple stats real quick.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
So the only thing I wanted to say was, you talked about the game they played earlier in the year. Rodgers had 2 interceptions the last time they played. You said that. And Green Bay got curb stomped, like really badly. And I wrote down they got smacked with a twisted tea can. Like it wasn't, it wasn't good. But since then, he's only thrown 3 interceptions to all of his other games. So when I look at it, it's like I wanted to respond back to what Mark had said, and it was, I think this game's not gonna. I think this game has no relevancy, and not none. But this game is not about Tampa Bay's offense or Green Bay's defense. This game is all about is Green Bay's offense versus Tampa Bay's defense. And I know you said we can't take into account what happened against the Saints. Both Saints and Tampa Bay played like dog crap last week. It was not a good game. Yes, it was defensively, I get it. But Tampa Bay only scored 1 field goal if it wasn't an interception first. They could not score from the 20-yard line. They had to do it off of interceptions. They matched up
awful against New Orleans.
I know they do. I know. So every game they played this year was like that. But Tom Brady has to, in this game, again, I know it's Green Bay, he's going to have to move the ball better. He's not going to have his wide receiver now. Antonio Brown's not playing. Again, I'm more confident in the Chiefs than I am this game.
Okay.
This game could go either way for me. I just think Green Bay's going to win, but I'm not mad if Tampa Bay wins. I mean, it's who wants this game more? And I wrote this right here. Who wants the game more? Green Bay's offense or Tampa Bay's defense?
Yep. I think this game means more to Green Bay.
It means more to Green Bay.
And I think it means more to Aaron Rodgers for the simple fact this is his first home game, championship game, home game. Now, he is 1-3 in the championship games, and I don't think you can discount that.
No.
But at the same time, I like Green Bay. I like what they're doing. I think Green Bay is set up where, again, I just don't understand how you can allow Davante Adams. He legit is the only option. Okay, like, can we agree on that? Like, Tanyan's a good second tight end.
I mean,
but how many wide receivers? Like, you can name their wide receivers, but you have to admit he is their only option.
And every team they play can't stop him. That's the crazy.
I just don't understand it. I really don't. And it's basically because of his route running. Like, I think
his route running is crazy.
And Logan asked this question a couple weeks, I think it was last week after the game. And I honestly do think Davante Adams is the best wide receiver in the NFL.
I'm not going to argue it. I got him up there.
Based off of this year, I would put Adams, Hopkins, and Tyreek Hill up there.
Yeah, I'd say Hopkins would be my 2.
You can make a case for Stephon Diggs to be up there as well, because he was really, really doing really well this year.
Yep. And
I mean, again, this was a big year for a lot of wide receivers. You can make a case for the top 10. You can make a top 10 case that Julio don't even belong in there. Neither does Michael Thomas.
Neither one of
them would make. You can make a case for Terry McLaurin to be in the top 10.
Yep.
You can make a case for Keenan Allen to be in there this year.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen had 111 catches.
I would take Ridley over Julio this year.
That's what I'm saying. So the point is some of these greats are starting to fall, and you're starting to see Devontae Adams for all these years said, y'all focused on Julio, and y'all focused on that other boy in the Saints, and y'all forgot about me. Same thing with Hopkins. Hopkins balled out and averaged like 11 catches a game for the first 8 weeks.
And, I mean, it's going to be it's a young man's game now.
Yeah,
and like you're seeing rookies make huge differences.
Oh yeah,
you're seeing second-year players take that jump. You know, it's
Justin
not
Jefferson.
It's not about the veterans anymore. Even defensively, you're looking at guys that have only been in the league 2-3 years that make huge differences for their defense.
They're playing better than some of the veterans do.
So it's
the receiving talent that has came out of the draft the last 2 years, and then the talent that's going to come out of the draft this year is just unbelievable.
It's unbelievable,
I don't
dude.
think I've ever seen a wide receiver class for 3 consecutive years this good.
I say the wide receiver class is crazy. It's going to be even more crazy come free agency when some of the wide receivers you see in free agent, you're like, well, that's a starter on any other team, and there's going to be a lot of them.
You know, in the free agents, some of them are, you know, and it's, again, I listen to Baltimore radio, okay?
Oh, gosh.
And they're talking about how they need a top wide receiver to come in and play. And if I'm a top wide receiver, I'm not coming to Baltimore.
Unless they're paying me.
You're going to have to overpay a second tier.
I had a client who said that the other day too. He said I like Lamar Jackson. He's like, and I would like to see him for another year. He's like, but we have no one to throw to. I said, you need more than just one person to throw to. I said, you need to develop your own style for him because you're trying too hard.
I don't think it matters who's there. I don't think he's and I'm going to compare Lamar Jackson to somebody that I thought about this all week. Okay, because coming into this show, listen to the dumb radio station talk about Lamar and everything. I'm going to compare Lamar Jackson to somebody that I want your guys' honest opinion on this, and I'm going to explain why I'm comparing him to this person. Okay, Tim Tebow. Okay, coming out of college, freak athlete. Okay, Tim Tebow was a winner. Okay, and should have been drafted where he was drafted. I still don't think Tim Tebow got a fair shot in the NFL. But at the same time, I don't think he would have been successful as, you know, in the NFL. Both players have one playoff win. Okay. Both players have awful mechanics.
Terrible.
Okay, awful mechanics, awful footwork. Both are freak athletes where, you know, Tim Tebow could run over. Tim Tebow was Cam Newton before Cam Newton came into the NFL. But I look at it as everybody's like, you got to pay Lamar, you got to pay Lamar, you got to pay Lamar. You do not pay an athlete that can't throw the ball. You can't. You cannot pay him the money. And I'll take it one step further. And I've said this, and I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face. You will never win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson. Ever.
I don't think they will either.
I made that point in the group, and I was one of the ones that got roasted for it, and I was not trying to be mean to the other guys in the group that do like him. I'm like, he reminds me, and I said it clear as day, he's James Harden of the NFL. He puts up points, he makes it look good, he sells tickets, he sells you on the idea, here's my empty trophy case. I promise I'll get you one. But yet when it matters, he crumbles.
Yep.
I mean, they won that playoff game, yes, but he wasn't even good in that game. He had like 5 sacks that game.
Yep.
So
but it's one of those things where, like, I just look at it, and so that comparison I made to Tim Tebow, okay, is it a fair comparison, or is he, say, more a Michael Vick, Randall Cunningham?
He reminds me a lot of Randall Cunningham to me, but
did you ever watch Randall
I've seen
play,
videos
though?
of Randall Cunningham.
Okay, like
no, not in person. No.
The thing is Randall Cunningham and Michael Vick had cannons.
Yeah, they could throw a little bit
and
better.
they could throw the ball. Now, if the pocket broke down too, like, they ran too quickly. Vic ran way too much, I feel. But at the same time, they could throw. And I do believe they had good, you know, not QBRs, but good accuracy and everything.
To me, I've always compared Lamar Jackson to me in recency time. He reminds me a lot of Cam Newton. That's what I've always said. People are like, well, Cam Newton has a pretty good arm, but it wasn't great. He could get you accurately 15 yards. That's what Lamar can do. But anything after 20 yards, it started making a duck and spiraling. And the wide receiver's like, where are you throwing to? That was 20 yards over my head or 20 yards behind my head.
That interception he threw against Tennessee was just awful.
Yeah, that was
like it looked like he just like closed his eyes and just threw it up there. Like, one, like, why are you doing that, throwing that ball like that on a first down that early in the game? Like, it just didn't make any sense. It looked like he completely lost all football knowledge right there, and it just was not good. And then the interception he threw in a crucial point in the game last week against Buffalo, that was just another bonehead play. Like, he threw it into, like, triple coverage, and if they score a touchdown there, it's a 10-10 game.
Quarterbacks make interceptions, okay? Quarterbacks have fumbles. They do. But great quarterbacks don't turn it over when it matters most. $40 million quarterbacks don't make that mistake. And that's why the quarterbacks that get paid over $35 million or franchise tag for that money don't make that throw. They don't make that mistake. And in the moment we need Lamar to run is when he throws an interception. Like,
So, question for both of you as far as if your team, okay, was offered Lamar Jackson, okay, both your teams need quarterbacks, okay. Dallas needs a quarterback, and
we have one. We just got to pay him.
But
yeah,
you don't.
I know what you're
you
saying.
don't. Dak signed somewhere else.
Okay, we're gonna
and
pretend
Baltimore calls you. Okay. Baltimore calls the Washington football team. They call Dallas, and they say, "We want your number one pick."
No,
for Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely not.
No,
absolutely not. I don't take it.
Okay,
I don't want to.
I would no.
Lamar Jackson is a great human being. I've heard him talk. He does great things for foundations. I have no disrespect to Lamar Jackson. I want anybody who listens to know I do not disrespect human beings.
I'm not talking about the human being. I'm talking about his talent.
No, I'm about to get into that next, because when I say this, it's going to sound mean. He is a terrible quarterback. I don't want his play style. And that doesn't, when you use the word play style with a running quarterback, people have their thoughts when you use that. I don't want his play style. Cams, Tim Tebow, Vic, Cunningham, I forgot, McNabb. I don't want that play style. I would like to have a play style on my team like I currently have if Dak re-signed. Russell Wilson's play style, Josh Allen's play style. Well, you'll run on a 3rd and 10, but you're not running on first. That's just me. I think Logan would probably say the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with 100% what you say, Christian. Yeah, just like Lamar, like I feel like with like Kyler Murray and Lamar and all these other mobile quarterbacks out there, like once you figure out how to stop them, the offense is not going to produce.
No.
So like early in the season, like the Cardinals were just rolling and rolling and rolling, and once teams started spying on Kyler Murray, he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
Like he had like a lucky ass Hail Mary to beat Buffalo. Like that was a great pass, great catch by Hopkins. But if he didn't have all that pressure on him, he would have been able to move down the field, and they probably could have won that game.
Right.
Like not the way they did.
Right.
But like with Lamar, like I just don't. Like I like Lamar, like I respect his game, but like it's just not going to get it done when it matters so much. Like,
I would give up my 1st round pick for any of the top 20 passing quarterbacks just about in the league. 15 quarterbacks in the league, but not his play style. That's all. I would take Burrow. I would take Herbert. I know they're rookies, but like I would take probably Baker Mayfield maybe. Just the play style is what I want. And those are the low end 15s or so. Like Deshaun Watson, if they only wanted a first, I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take Alex Smith for a first.
That's going to be an interesting thing in this offseason. Is going to be like you guys mentioned some of the wide receivers that are free agents. Like the wide receiver class is ridiculous.
These are the top 3 I can think of. You have Galladay, Robinson. As a Dallas fan, I'm just going to say Michael Gallup. Julio wants to be traded. That's 4 right there.
Yep.
I got Chris Godwin.
Thank you. I forgot about Godwin.
Yep. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. Corey Davis, that's a big one.
So if Corey Davis is one, does that mean Mike Williams is too?
I believe Mike Williams.
They were drafted in the same draft, weren't they? Maybe not.
Hold on.
There's a whole list of them. I was just looking at it the other day. I know like Marvin Jones is on that list, Antonio Brown.
Yep. And I think like Marvin Jones is the type of wide receiver that is going to get overpaid by a team that needs a wide receiver.
See, I wouldn't overpay any of these because of how deep the wide receiver class is in college and the free agency class. There's a lot of wide receivers on the market. If it's not Galladay, Robinson, or probably those two.
I don't pay Galladay.
I like Galladay.
He doesn't play. Like when he plays, but he's good. But he doesn't. I don't think he's played a full season in the last 2 years.
I don't think he has.
So that's the thing. Like Allen Robinson to me is the only surefire. Yes, I'm going to pay money for this kid. And it's, he did it with Trubisky. You know, I mean, he put up, you know, so it's, but just the fact that Watson's going to be, you know, is on the market.
That's what we need to talk about.
And it's, you know, and the thing is he has a no trade clause. So he has to give permission for them to trade to a certain team. So it's not like you can call up, you know, X, Y, and Z. You have to, like, decide, like, all right, who are these teams that he legit would probably go to? And we got to call them.
I mean, his deal, if somebody makes this trade, this is TV draft day type deals. This is the what was his name? I already forgot his name. God, that's terrible. The 88 trade, the Herschel Walker trade, like the Dallas trade. This is the level you're talking about where it's either going to cripple or completely change your franchise. You're going to be giving up 2 or 3 firsts, a player or two for this kind of guy. And for a lot of these teams, can you give up that much draft capital for a quarterback in his prime? Or about to be in his prime.
As a Washington football fan, I am all in on Deshaun Watson.
It's a lot.
I mean, I can't blame you.
I wouldn't blame them either. If I was in their situation, I would do it too. But you just want to make sure it's not too much money. We can still get a wide receiver.
You know, if this is, say, last year where the Bengals didn't have Burrow, and they had the number 1 pick, and and Houston has Deshaun Watson dangling there, I give them a call and I say, we'll give you a 1 this year, a 1 next year.
Are we talking if Burrow didn't exist? Because I would have still wanted Burrow.
No, okay. That's what I'm saying. I would have
still wanted Burrow.
You know, it's... see, me, personally, with the team the Bengals had offensively, I much would have rather had a Deshaun Watson than a Joe Burrow.
Well, I think Deshaun Watson would have been good for the Bengals at the time, but I still think that team is 2 years away from being more relevant. I think they're one of those teams, maybe not this year coming up because they missed a lot of injury because of Burrow. But even if you get Deshaun Watson, you're not a playoff team. You might be on the edge, but I still think that those draft picks the Bengals have for this year and the draft with Burrow, those picks are going to help them. And same thing with DC. I wouldn't care if DC gets Watson. That'd be awesome for their team. But I still think there's a couple holes to fill that their first and second rounders this year are going to help that.
Yeah, but I don't think you give up a second rounder this year. I think you give up a first. You know, but the Jets would have to give up 2 firsts. Miami might actually have to give up 3.
See, I think, and going back to y'all's 2 teams, I think DC's in a better position to acquire him since they just made the playoffs and could have done better if they had the same quarterback all year. They didn't start with what they had. So, like, I think with Watson, DC can be a 10-11 win team. But I think with Watson, the way the Bengals sit right now, they're not a 10 or 11 win team. I think it's perfect. They got Burrow. Burrow's going to be a monster.
Yeah.
But if I'm DC, I'm calling. I'm finding a way. Say, what do you want? As long as it's not overly ridiculous,
if I'm Houston, I make it overly ridiculous.
But that's what I'm saying.
Because you technically, I mean, you don't have to trade him. In the NFL, you can't sit out and not be punished.
Yeah.
You know, so I look at it as is Houston's in a good spot because technically he still has to play. But if I'm Houston, I try to trade him because you're starting as a new GM and a new coach. Would you rather have no draft capital or Deshaun Watson, or would you rather have draft picks for the next few years and no Deshaun Watson? Me, I'd rather have no Deshaun Watson and draft capital to build my team in my image of what I want.
Yeah,
instead
I wouldn't want to have somebody that doesn't want to play for the organization that I'm trying to rebuild.
Right, and so that's to me is like if I'm Houston, I'm calling Miami, I'm calling the 49ers, I'm calling Washington, and I'm saying
Rams.
What can I get for the Rams? Don't have anything either because they gave up everything for Ramsey. They gave up everything for that linebacker too, Fowler.
Dante, is it Fowler?
I think it's Fowler.
Yeah, I think it's Dante Fowler Jr.
So they have no money.
I know, but I'm just using an example for me. I want everybody to ask. Okay, so I want to ask
Indianapolis.
A question here. Indianapolis is a good choice too. I know you, Logan, DC fan, so you can say DC if you want, but we'll all go around. Where do you think, I'll start with Mark, is the best fit for Deshaun Watson? No matter what the teams have to give up, where you think he's going to have the most success in the team you think will give him up? Who will trade for him?
I have one in each division.
That's fine.
Miami and San Francisco. I think both both would be easily high seed playoff predictions for me. I think San Francisco would take over the division with him being signed, and then I think Miami would battle Buffalo and battle Kansas City for tops in the AFC.
I I know Logan's not going to say this. I would be floored, so I just want to ask you real quick. Jacksonville doesn't make that kind of move, do they? I know they're dingling on the Lawrence, but they don't make that kind of deal, you don't think? It's not who I'm picking. I'm just thinking that'd be an interesting shot for an Urban Meyer to take.
It depends on how they want to build the team.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
So you have 11 draft picks and you have a lot of money. Do you want to take those? Do you want to take a handful of those picks and lose a lot of that money to get Deshaun Watson? Now, again, I think you become better with Deshaun Watson on that team. I think you become easily better. But what do you have to lose? In that to
You're
get
losing
him?
A quarterback 4 years younger.
Yeah, and I think I'd much rather have Lawrence.
I would too.
But here's the thing: Lawrence and the 11 and 10 other draft picks and $70 million. I'd much rather have that. I agree. And so, because for me, if I'm Urban Meyer, you've proven you're a talker. Okay, like if you're a successful college coach, you're a talker, you're a seller. Like you're one of the best.
Well, now he can actually buy players.
Exactly, and so you can go to Allen Robinson, you can go to a top wide receiver to pair with DJ Chark. You can go to linemen and say, hey, defense, hey, we're building something here. I mean, come play for me, and
just imagine a Lawrence. You got Robinson, Chark, and then you bring in, I don't know what's Allen Robinson, like just. And let's say they sign the freaking tight end from the Chargers. That's not a team I want to play very often. That's a good team.
Plus the draft
and
picks
they can sound like a veteran, like Ryan Kerrigan on the defense.
Because
when every year other than this year, Kerrigan has put up 10+ sacks each year.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still getting hella pressure. So that's the reason why he doesn't want to stay in DC, because he knows he's not going to start ever chasing Sweat, so he wants to go elsewhere, which I don't blame him at all.
So what do you think? Where do you think he ends up, Logan? If they trade
Watson?
him. Yep.
AFC, I would have to agree with you and say Miami, or Mark with Miami, and then I'm not trying to be a homer, but I think he fits well with us. Like, we have young weapons on offense. Our offensive line is getting way better. Like, we still need to address the left side of the ball, but we have the defense that could help Watson out a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
don't want his ass in the NFC East.
I'm not saying watch it when I picked San Francisco. I'm not saying that he wouldn't fit well in Washington. I think he easily wins 3 or 4 more games in Washington.
You think more than likely San Francisco would make the deal over DC?
No, I think San Francisco has more to offer.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so they have more to offer, and
because they're not building, they have depth. Remember, look how good that defense was when they were all hurt. And DC's building.
But DC's building has built it right.
Oh yeah,
San Francisco has built it right, and I just look at San Francisco as if Garoppolo didn't get hurt this year, and they're all 5 of their running backs didn't get hurt,
and all their defensive players had an ACL in the same week. Yeah,
and Kittle. I mean, they would have challenged in that division. Like that division, if you think about it. Arizona could have finished last at 8-8.
Do you guys want to imagine Deshaun Watson throwing to Kittle?
I mean, Kittle, Ayuk. But also you look at it, McLaurin, and Thomas, and
I know.
It's you can make an argument for any of those things. Now, the only reason why I say Miami in the AFC is because of those 3 first-round picks and then 2 the next year,
and they were already a 10-win team. Right. They had 10 wins.
Yes.
And I think you make and I think if you're Houston, so I was going to go into mine. I have Miami. I don't have another team. I think it's Miami is the clear favorite. They have the most to give up. 3 first-round picks. I think they have 2 second-round picks. They have 2 next year. I think first-round picks again.
Mm-hmm.
And Houston doesn't need players. Houston has to get some draft capital back.
Yes.
They have no first, no second. Next year they have no second.
So in this whole, all 3 of us picked Miami. Is Tua part of the deal?
Yes. For me, 2 was part of the deal.
Okay.
I'm not giving up. But I'm not giving up all 3 of my first this year. 2 this year, 2 first this year, which are both my first 2. So the pick 5, whatever they have. The other one, pick 3. The next one, I'm keeping my late first, and I'm going to give you next year's first. I'm giving you 2, 1 next year, and Tua. But I'm not giving you all 3 2021 first rounders. And I think Houston loves that deal. They're getting some first-round draft capital. They're going to get the number 3 pick, so they can get Sewell. They can get that wide receiver. They're going to get Tua. Maybe they can develop him. Maybe the new GM likes him. And Miami instantly is a 12-win team. They won 10 this year. You don't think with Deshaun Watson 2 more wins is possible? That defense is nasty.
It's definitely possible. I could see that happening. But I think I saw a report yesterday.
Let's say they sound like an Aaron Jones.
Yeah, it's...
And they got a good coach.
It's, Miami makes the most sense. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody has to... And the Jets... make sense as far as what you can get back.
Yeah.
So that's where it is. And so if I'm Washington and I'm San Francisco and I'm Indianapolis and I'm any team but those two teams, the Jets and Miami, you're like, okay, what can I do
better than
to
those
top that?
And that's Indy. Indy's pick is 23.
Exactly.
And they don't have 3 first-rounders.
And, you don't have a quarterback on your roster either in Indy. You don't, because Brissett's a free agent.
Yeah.
Rivers retired. So you do not have a quarterback on your roster. So you need either to trade for one, or you need to draft one, or you need to sign one in free agency. And if you sign one in free agency, who are they? Yeah. The only one who's the top? Dak is the top quarterback free agent on the market. If you sign Dak, you're going to have to outbid Dallas.
Yeah.
Okay, and we all know Dallas is going to throw money at him.
Of course.
Okay, who else is there? Who else is a free agent?
Isn't Bridgewater a free agent?
No, Bridgewater signed like a 3-year deal.
Yeah, he did. He wasn't very good this year, by the way.
Winston is a free agent.
Yeah, Winston a free agent.
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins is a free agent.
Trubisky.
There's
been rumors of Trubisky in Dallas, and I'm quickly turning off Facebook when I see that dumb shit.
Stop
that.
But what I'm saying is Indianapolis was a 11-win team this year.
Yeah,
11-win team this year, and you're looking at they have no quarterback on their roster right now, and they could go from 11 wins easily to 500. Tennessee is at that stage where if they don't improve defensively quickly and they lose, look what happened to them when they lost Corey Davis in the playoff game against.
They were done.
They didn't have an offense.
Yep.
So what I'm saying is that division, you could easily see somebody else climbing up there where Houston's a dumpster fire right now, but you get these draft picks in a couple years, you can make that jump.
Yeah.
Jacksonville with 11 draft picks and the number one this year and $70 million to spend can, where Indianapolis is, technically behind the 8 ball.
Technically, yeah, they don't have a quarterback. And that's why I judge so much when I've been talking about this, thinking about it today before we went on live, it's at Miami to me, I think of all those teams, Indy too, but Miami has more to give, so we're going to use them first. Mm-hmm. Miami is the most hungry right now. And that's nothing from D.C. I think D.C. is hungry as well. But Miami is the one team going, I know we didn't make the playoffs, and D.C. did with, 6 wins or 7 wins. Mm-hmm. But I think Miami is a team saying, if we get the right piece, we had 2 quarterbacks, we juggled back and forth. They're both kind of unhappy about the situation. We bring in this dude, this guy. This guy is the difference between us competing against Patrick Mahomes. And I think that's what the Miami Dolphins think, because they have the defense that the Bills have.
If I'm Miami, I'm not even trying to compete against Patrick Mahomes. I'm trying to compete against Josh Allen.
Well, I understand, but I was just saying. But I think Miami with Deshaun Watson's better than the Bills.
Now, I will throw this team out there because slyly, the only people that are talking about it are people in New England.
Oh God. I know.
They have the Patriot connection because it was the Patriots GM just went to Houston, okay? And the Patriots are able to give draft picks, and they're, decent draft picks where you might want to say that's something Belichick would figure out.
Oh, there's a way.
But Cam Newton's a free agent too.
Yeah.
Don't forget Cam Newton.
He's going to be bagging groceries at Food Line after the season.
But it's as far as it goes, like you're looking at top teams, playoff teams that need a quarterback.
Yeah.
You're looking at teams that are like, okay, do we actually have our quarterback? And you're looking at teams in the top of the draft of what are we going to do?
Yeah.
You're looking at Jacksonville knows what they're going to do.
Oh, they already know.
The Jets don't. You don't know what the Jets are going to do. Are you going to bring Darnold back, or are you going to draft a QB?
We talked about that last week.
Then you have like the 3 and 4. You have Miami.
Yep.
Then you have Atlanta, and then you have the Bengals.
Yeah.
Okay, what's Atlanta going to do? What's Atlanta going to look like at the end of this year? Going into the beginning of the year, going into that draft, what are they going to look like? So you're looking at, you can't even decide who's going to be in the top of this draft because you don't know what these teams are going to do.
And you don't know what Indy's going to do. You don't know. I've seen a lot of mock drafts, and I know these are mocks. I know Logan does them too. A lot of mock drafts where you have some of these quarterbacks like Fields fall into 18th, 19th, 20th. He could fall to the Colts. Any of these Trask could go right to the Colts.
Yep.
He could be right there. Now, I'm not saying he won't make it past DC, but he currently has a second-round grade on him, third-round grade. Now, he could be early, but he's got that few year back Will Grier grade on him right now where it's like still a question mark because of some questionable decisions he's made. But
Trask and Indy would be a great fit in my opinion.
I agree. I agree 100%. I think his fit would be perfect in Indy.
But you're looking at, it's any number of things are going to happen.
It's crazy.
Bengals had the third pick forever. For like 4 or 5 weeks in a row, the Bengals had the third pick, and Sewell was that pick because it was quarterback, and then Sewell, right? Now the Bengals have the fifth pick, and everybody's saying quarterback, wide receiver, linebacker, Sewell to the Bengals.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, like if I'm the Jets and Darnold's your guy,
you're either taking Sewell or Chase or the
Smith.
other one, or Smith. There's no way.
And it's like, okay, I see that. And then Atlanta, what do? Are you trading Julio?
And if you take the Jets, and you take the Jets with Mekhi Becton, and you give them Sewell, and they sign a Gallup, or they sign one of these dudes.
Exactly, because they have a lot of money.
Herndon, who I think is a decent tight end.
That offensive line is already good.
He just got to stay healthy. Herndon can be a good tight end. You're looking at a decent. That team's going to do great. And you have Saleh, who I think can be a good coach. He's defensive minded. The Jets love defensive minded coaches. Didn't work for Bowles or the Rex Ryan brother, but defensively, I just look at it like this offseason is going to be crazy. I don't know what the first domino to fall is. I don't know if it happens before the Super Bowl. It's going to happen after the season. Is it Dak?
Yeah.
Is it Watson being traded? What's the first domino that ticks? And I'm not asking you guys what it is, but I'm saying that's when it starts. It doesn't start, honestly, right now. I know we're talking about it. It starts what's the first big move, and then that's when it all going to trickle down because if Dak gets signed immediately to a 5-year deal in the next few weeks, which he can be signed now, all the way up until April, until he hits free agency. If he gets signed now the Colts are going, yeah, he can be signed right now. Franchise tag. He can be signed right now because his franchise tag was up like 2 weeks ago. I just saw it on Facebook. I assumed he can be. But let's just say he gets signed long term. The Colts are going, shoot. All right, now we're on the clock. We got to figure out because now he's gone. Are we dealing with a Cam Newton? Are we dealing with a somebody? Or are we going to try to move up in the draft and trade one of our running backs and move up or something? We got to figure something out.
The Colts could get somebody like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's. I just think it's. It's a fun time of year.
I love it.
And I know. Everybody. Basketball's happening. Basketball's kicking in. Hockey's kicking in.
Baseball will be here before you know it.
Yep. Spring training starts soon. It's
saying.
less than a month away before pitchers and catchers. So
NASCAR's about to start.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, babe.
But it's. Realistically, we are watching something this weekend. In my lifetime, I can't remember it being this intriguing as far as the QB matchups. And that's the thing. You had a couple years ago, you had Brady versus Mahomes, and everybody thought it. No, Brady versus Mahomes.
You said a couple years ago. I'm sorry. I was thinking you were thinking a few years farther.
No. Brady versus Mahomes went to overtime. Brady wins. And then the next year, Brady doesn't get there, but Mahomes makes it to the Super Bowl. Now you have a scenario where they could meet in the Super Bowl. And it's, to me, that is just, and I'm going to say it on the record now. If Brady wins the Super Bowl, I think he retires.
Yeah.
I don't think you can top what you did this year. If you win the Super Bowl this year, I do not think you can top this year.
He's a greedy bastard. He'll do it again.
Right, but
didn't he sign a 2-year contract in Tampa Bay anyways?
Yeah, he did.
He can opt out after one, though, I think.
But my thing is this, is if, you watched Manning go out on top, right? Manning won the Super Bowl, but he sucked his final year. Can we all admit that?
Yeah, he was pretty bad.
Okay.
Yeah, that defense was arguably
one of the best defenses.
Yeah,
and so what I'm saying is this year is almost like if I'm Brady and I win the Super Bowl, I'm sort of like, I can't top this. Even if I win another Super Bowl or get to another Super Bowl,
I'm just not another Super Bowl at that point.
I'm not going to put up 4,600 yards and 40
He's almost
TDs.
getting to the point where it's got to be boring. At some point, he's like, who else has the most Super Bowls besides him? What's second?
Did you see what Nate posted in the group about what he said to Devin White?
What did he say?
Because Devin White was disappointed he didn't make the Pro Bowls. Brady goes, you shouldn't be playing for Pro Bowls. You should be playing for the chip. Like, no, like we're playing for something more than just a Pro Bowl. We're playing for the top game. We're playing for Super Bowls.
Because the Pro Bowl doesn't even have the best players in it.
And
They're
literally
just voted.
15 years before that, he said the same thing to Takeo Spikes. Mm-hmm. I don't care about the Pro Bowl. I care about championships. Yeah. Like, get your head out of your ass. It's not about stats. It's about Super Bowls.
It's crazy.
And like, that's the difference. Like, you see it in Tampa Bay. It's the same team as last year, but the difference is the quarterback. And it's a huge advantage, I feel, for Tampa Bay, because they have a talented squad, and Brady, I feel, is that difference maker. Yeah. So again, to end for me, I'm going Tampa Bay versus Kansas City in the Super Bowl.
I'm going Green Bay, Kansas City. What about you, Logan?
Green Bay, Kansas City, with Green Bay winning it all.
All right, so with that, what, you got any last words, Logan? Got anything you want to say? You want to let it out?
No, just Rodgers needs to get it done, man. I'm pulling for him. My favorite quarterback of all time. He's got to do it.
Yeah.
Well, man, it was nice having you on.
Yeah, thanks for coming back on, Logan.
Absolutely. We have to get you back in soon, all right?
All right, definitely. Thanks, guys.
All right, man. Have a great night.
You too.
So that was Logan with us once again. He hadn't been on for a while. It's been quite a few weeks. Yeah. So with that, Mark, got anything you want to add to the show?
Let's enjoy something that we may never see again. And enjoy this football weekend, because I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, just enjoy the fact that we have Breeze leaving probably. Mm-hmm. Rivers gone probably. We don't know about Big Ben. One of these three right now, two of them, Rodgers, Brady, one of them two could be done this year. We could lose 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in the same year. This hasn't happened before.
No, so, I mean, you're going to – I think Breeze is done. I think Breeze retires. My thing is will Big Ben retire?
It's a lot of money.
I know they just signed the highly touted, highly talented Dwayne Haskins to a contract. So, I mean, he's in trouble in Pittsburgh.
Dude, to the stars they go, man. Yep. The star is the limit.
But other than that, everybody have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Have a great weekend, guys. Peace out.